up, you guys? It's Celeste.
And I'm Shell.
And this is Heavy Worship Nation. Tonight we are gathered here with the band The Light Superior. Woo!
Hello.
Hi, you guys. Oh, so excited to talk with you and to hear your testimonies and just everything. I'm so excited to get into this. And before we get into this, if I can have you guys introduce yourselves, your name, and what you play in the band.
Chris, do you want to
Yeah, so I'm Chris. I play the guitar.
I'm Giovanni, or Gio, whatever everyone likes, and I play drums.
I'm Justin. I play the harmonica.
You can barely hear. Yeah,
No, I play guitar.
I love it.
and
Thank
bass
you.
and bass.
and tracks.
Yeah, I play the bass, just not live.
Yeah,
I love
Same.
that. I feel like if you play guitar, you could play bass very easily. Anybody who's
Oh, yeah.
a guitar player.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's shots fired or not. I might get canceled for saying that. I don't know, but we'll find out.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right. So I was listening to you guys earlier, and man, y'all bring the heat for sure. I was like, what the heck? Like, everybody needs to know these guys. Like, I was like getting down all by myself. I swear, people probably looked at me like I was crazy or something. I don't even care. But I I was listening to it and I was like, what kind of genre would these guys be considered as? So I figured, why not ask the source? So what genre would you consider you guys being?
I'm sure metalcore. In some,
yeah. I feel like that would be the
Like just the generic metalcore title, I
Yeah.
feel like is the best.
I was thinking that, but I was like, well, I was like, I don't know, maybe it could be something else. Cause like sometimes like people surprise us, like they're like, actually, we are metal praise core of the blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like that's why I was like, I'm gonna let y'all say it because I don't know. It's just like I'd rather y'all do that.
That makes sense. And then also it's, with all the subgenres and kind of everything that music sort of compartmentalized itself into. I mean, you could have a metal band, for example, that maybe they're like they have one song that has more electronic or more like production in one of it, and because of that, they're like electro metal or something like that. So I really just, I mean, yeah, I get where you're coming from. Of like, I would rather let them kind of be like, okay, well, this is kind of how we like identify ourselves in the genre. But yeah, I think we can all agree. I mean, it feels like a metal, just general metalcore. I feel like is
Yeah.
the best for sure.
I love it.
I think so too. I was listening to the new single, but like that one's a little bit like it's heavier but lighter at the same time. So I was like, the I guess it was the EP before that. It had the blue cover. I'm
Yeah.
really bad with names. Like I can remember the thumbnail. I won't remember the name of the tracks or anything like that. But that one was like really traditional metalcore. But the new single, not so much. And I'm kind of like excited about that because if that transition happened with this one, like what's coming next?
Yeah, we'll definitely. I mean, obviously, I don't know if y'all want to touch on that now or if that's going to be coming on.
Yeah, we'll get to it. We will.
Yes, we will get to that for sure. Oh, I'm so excited. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and lead with the first question, which is, in a few words, if you can tell us what Jesus has saved you from. And I mean, this is just, it doesn't have to be like 3 words, but however you feel you see fit. Anybody who wants to go first?
First one.
For me, I feel like he definitely saved me from. In all honesty, he saved me from myself. I think my biggest thing was before I actually, like really turned my life over to him. I thought I had, a relationship with him. I thought, the things that I was doing were okay, and I was okay to do this and okay to do that. But then it was like the closer and closer I got to him, he started showing me like, you kind of knew me, but you kind of didn't.
Mhm.
So he definitely saved me from my own thought process, my own way of thinking of what a true relationship with him is actually like.
I love that. I feel like that's like kind of explaining like making Jesus Lord of your life instead of just being like this
Exactly.
whole ruler like religion type thing.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
think
so cool.
Yeah, it's a big difference when you like, you know, to me, I feel like it was one of those things where, like if I, you know, were to have a friend that had a parent and I knew that parent, but I wasn't that parent's kid. It's the same, it's the difference between being, you know, the child and then just knowing the parent.
Right.
Where I always, you know, I knew God was a father and stuff like that, but I never really felt like he was mine. Never understood
Mm.
that kind of relationship. I just knew that that was what he was for me. But then building my relationship with Jesus, it kind of made me realize, like, no, like that is my father. Like I feel different towards him now and see him more as a parent as opposed to seeing him as someone else's parent.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's good. I love it. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. I guess I'll go ahead and kind of bounce off that. Like if that's the question, I think for me would be like very early on in life, I think it would be saving from not having a sense of direction. So I'm actually not a native Texan. I moved to Texas from California when I was 16. So I think I've been in Texas about 17, 18 years now. It makes me feel like an honorary Texan, basically.
Yeah.
I've lived in Texas longer than California now, which I'm very happy about. I love Texas and everything about it. But
Nice.
so the last year that I was in California, I was kind of just coasting through life. I didn't really have a relationship with God or I had a handful of friends. I would stay at home and just play video games. And I mean, obviously you're young, you don't have a job or anything like that. So I kind of felt like I was just coasting kind of through life, and I didn't really care about going to, you know, college or anything after high school. I was just going through the motions basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then the big monkey wrench came whenever I guess my dad decided, okay, hey, we're gonna go to Texas for a week and we're gonna check out because I guess the dairy industry was booming. And long story long on that one, they were like, they came back after the week and they go, okay, start packing up, we're moving to Texas. And up until that point, I mean, I grew up Catholic, but I didn't, I mean, it always felt like it was just something that you were supposed to do, not something that I was called to do.
Right.
It just felt like a routine. It didn't feel like something that was like pulling me in versus me just going to a building and taking some classes, reciting some poems and that was it. But whenever I moved to Texas, I moved to Hereford, Texas, and I started going to the Methodist church there.
Mhm.
And that was kind of my first experience of, you know, one of my classmates like, hey, I go to youth at this Methodist church in Hereford. Do you want to come? And I was like, it was kind of like a sure, okay. It felt like we were just gonna go hang out, basically.
Yeah.
But then eventually, the people that were there, and that was like my first sense of community, when it came to anything resembling, I guess, faith or worship or anything like that. And I'd never had that experience. It never felt as genuine, I guess.
Mhm.
So I think that was kind of the moment or the event that kind of steered me in the direction, and well, in a better direction uh than I had been. It felt like it was less, I'm just going through the motions. I'm just trying to get through high school and then eventually I'll get a job, and it felt very monotone. Like life felt very stale. Yeah, you know, and you can feel that kind of back then. But you know, I started it was just that one trip to church, and then eventually I joined I became a youth leader, and then I started playing drums in the youth band. Um, and I kind of did that for a couple of years, and I've since stepped away from that. But I think if to sort of wrap it all up, um, there was no direction before then. I was it just felt kind of I was coasting. Like I like
Right.
didn't really care about music, didn't really care about, my studies, didn't really care about learning about my relationship with God or anything like that. But then it just took that one visit, it was kind of a, a leap of faith, I guess, if you want to put it in a phrase. And ever since then, I mean, it's definitely a road that, everyone kind of tries to navigate, but ever since then, I feel like there's been more direction, basically.
Wow, that's
Nice.
great. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I feel like a lot of people can relate to that, especially like growing up and just kind of like, well, this is life. I'm just gonna grow up and work, have kids, get married, and that's it. Like nobody really talks about, the morality of things, like where am I gonna go? Like what's happening now after this? Like I don't know. I feel like at least with my parents, I never had that talk. Like, and I also grew up Catholic as well. And I feel you on that. Like I was just showing up and everything was just so monotone. And I was like, what is going on? Like I just wanted to get out of there. Like I I
Yeah,
relate so much to
yeah.
that. So
Oh
much to
yeah.
that. So definitely thank you for sharing that. All right, Justin.
All right. No, so
It's so funny.
so for me, I'm kind of the same as you two. I grew up Catholic, and by Catholic, or by grew up Catholic, I even went to a Catholic school for 7 years. So I went
Mm.
to church every single day of my life, literally. I mean, Monday through, well, maybe one day on the weekends. But other than that, I grew up from the time I was, I can remember. I'm going to church, involved with the church, obviously going to school. So it was just that's the way it was. I mean, it was never I never had a choice really in the matter. It's just part of my family, part of my raising. That God was there, and I mean, if you've grown up Catholic, it's a little, I don't know, a little different. It's very, I guess, methodical, or not methodical,
Yep.
but I don't know how you describe that, but there's certain things you do, or you're asked to do. It's just kind of, you do these certain things every day or every service, whatever. You follow what's given to you. It's just a way of life. So I grew up that way. Once I guess became an adult, when I say that, I mean had kids, or had a kid, and got married, and I just really started thinking, I've never thought for myself,
Mhm.
about this stuff. It was just kind of thrown at me, and this is what you're supposed to believe, and this is what you're supposed to do, and this is how it is. And
Mhm.
I never just took my own, took the time to think for myself, I guess is the way you could put it. So I kind of dedicated, like, from that point on, to checking more into, okay, what is this about? Where does this stuff come from? Am I just listening to these guys that get up and speak in church, the pastors and priests and preachers, and I'm just taking their word like that's what it's supposed to be? I checked into, okay, what's the big deal with atheism? Why are they non-believers?
Mhm.
But a lot of people are like, how can you not believe? Well, there's a reason that they don't. What is that? What is, or got into other checking into other people's belief systems, like why do they think the way they do. I even went to watch multiple people talk, or give talks, and give presentations. um Mostly, it was mostly kind of a, what would you call it, like, people that are into apologetic stuff nowadays,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
like went
Love
and watched
that.
those guys talk, about the reasons for why things are the way they are, or, you know. So it took just a period in my life, and really, I don't know if you'd call it research, because it wasn't necessarily like I'm getting books out. I also went off of feeling and prayer, and part of a major part of prayer is listening. So It's like praying, what am I supposed to, hey God, what's going on here? Why is this happening? Or what do I need to look for here? Stuff like that, just really checked into it. And what I came to realize was how, obviously God is real, and most of that didn't come from something you find in a book. It came from feeling, and it came from something internal.
Hmm.
Nothing that I can nail down. It was just, like I said, a big part of prayer is listening, and it came from that listening time, or what was, I guess, revealed, and the feelings inside that he's very real, very present, and present in my life, especially when you want him to be. And I even got into the scientific side of why, stuff like that. But just so from that point on, I really like turned a corner and really got to where I could put my faith in him, because you hear people talk about faith. Well, what does that really mean? That means believing without seeing, knowing
Mm.
there that he's got you, kind of, I guess a easy way to put it. And you can believe he's there and going to take care of you. And so, with the question, what did he save you from? And I think it is save me from the world. So, I think you can get caught up in worldly views, worldly, I don't know, just a overly worldly take on things very easily. And what that did was just kind of showed me that there's something bigger than the world. And I got 3 kids now, married, so a big part of all of that is giving them guidance, and keeping them on the path that they need to go. So, which is, it's hard enough keeping yourself on the path when you got 3 other little humans to keep going straight. It's can get harder, harder than just yourself. So that's a whole other thing, with the saving me. I think giving me 3 kids saved me from other stuff too, keeps me on the path, so to speak. But I mean, I guess just save me from the world, really, and understanding that this world is going to end, and there's going to be something later on, and that's what I need to be striving to live for.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think honestly, like, it's really nice to hear that's, from someone's story that, they researched about it. Well, why do people believe that Jesus died for us? Why do people go to church? Why do they decide to read the Bible? Why is this true? And then looking up the scientific facts about it, like, I honestly think that is so important, because if you're just following blindly and like don't even have any opinion, but oh yeah, well my parents tell me to believe because I'll go to hell, like, but the fact that you were like researching yourself and you're like, man, this is like really like bugging me, like what's the meaning of this, like the meaning of life. And I feel like, a lot of people at least that don't have Jesus, like don't know the answer. But it's like now that you do have Jesus, you're like, okay, like I understand it now. So I think that's really cool. I know you were nodding about this, Chill. I feel like you want to say something.
Well, yeah, because I think that's probably one of the biggest stumbling blocks for Catholics. You're not supposed to question the church. You're not supposed to question the priest. You're not supposed to question anything. You just show up, say your prayers, have your rosary, come to mass, do communion, confess, all of those. You're supposed to follow the steps.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want everybody out there to know that the Bible actually says something totally different. The Bible says that there are false prophets out there, and for you to test everything and to hold fast to what is true.
Exactly. And I
So,
that saying too. And I've, in that whole journey, that's what I followed. I came across that at some point, and it was, because it was like, why? And there was, I think it's some apologetic guy, and you're like, why do you do this? Why do you, if you're such a strong believer, why do you have to find these reasons for things? Why can you not just believe? And it was like, it says it in the Bible to question things. It says
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah,
to, question it and hold on to, you know, that you see as good. And and that's great. That just, to me, when you do that and you see the answers, or you find the answers to these things, it just solidifies your faith. And I mean, or that's what it has for me.
Same.
It's not
Same.
it's an ongoing kind of battle, I guess you'd say. Like, it's not like, okay, I got to this point, well, that's it, I don't need to learn anything else, that's all. No, there's still questions I still have all the time, like, God, why did that happen? I don't get it. What happened? And you just, you continue to seek answers, or you just, you're like, you got a plan. I'm gonna go with it. So
I think that's the hard part, is that even when you seek answers, he's not obligated to give you one.
Yes.
Oh, the
I think
burn.
that's a big thing that people don't really understand, is that, when you get to that point where you're like, why? Sometimes he's just like, you don't need to know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, honestly, it's better, at least to me, to not know everything, because if we did know everything, like, it would just be chaos. Like, we're already, as it is, like, have so many things going on in our head, and then just like adding more. Like,
Yeah.
I'll just wait till I die and go to heaven, and then know. Then I'm like, I don't want to know here. I'm already exhausted.
Right.
It was so funny.
That's always funny too, because like I've talked, like, for me, I always, the Bible says to test the spirit with the spirit, and one of my big things that I've learned recently is that not everything spiritual is godly.
Right.
There's a lot of things that I've felt in my spirit where I'm like, that can't be right. Like, I can feel it, but I gotta test, like what the Bible says, test the spirit with the spirit. And there's some things where I'm like, okay, I gotta stay away from that. Because there's some things that look good or sound good or seem like they would be good, but they're not. And it's hard to discern that if you don't have that relationship, like Justin was talking about, like praying and then the listening.
Right.
Because some people just like, well, I prayed about it and I felt it, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like right away. I'm like, oh, okay. I love it. You guys are so cool. I'm like,
that
we
was
only have one question in, but still.
that was a long answer for three words.
That's okay. It was
Right.
important. It was
Yes,
very
it is.
important.
Like, different, like, perspective. That's why we like asking these kind of questions, and like having everyone answer, because everyone has a different answer. Even if it's sort of the same, everybody still brought something different to the table, which
Mhm.
will definitely impact somebody. Somebody can relate somehow. So
Mhm.
I love it. How did you guys know that you were called to create heavy worship? Like, was it being in church? Was it like after, like coming to Christ? Like, what was, like, were you playing in secular bands like before this? Like, what was like the moment where you're like, I want to do this for God?
I think it was probably just trying to be a light. This sounds cheesy a little bit.
Nah, go for it.
Being a light in the darkness, so to speak. So I mean, just in the world in general can be a dark place and negative, and and then you add in the like metal or the heavy genre is completely that way. Even people that people that aren't into heavy or aggressive music see it as they're probably worshiping the devil, or
Yeah.
something crazy. Or
Mm-hmm.
and some bands are like, there are bands that are that way, but it just has, I think, has a dark kind of connotation that comes with the genre. So we just wanted to kind of go against the grain a little bit with that, and then also just bring light, bring a positive message, whether the song is directly like meant for a worship type song, or if it's just, a positive, gives a positive vibe in a way. I think that's what the message we're probably all on board with. It's just the positive and the, you know, light in the darkness, so to speak.
Yeah, and individually, like, for example, I didn't, just to kind of bring it back to before I moved out here. So I didn't even think I would play drums, for example. It's one of those situations where I didn't think not having not having any kind of direction, it was just something that kind of, I feel it fell into my lap, but for a reason, and I didn't understand the reason until now.
Mhm.
I was never a musician. I don't really have family that are musicians. I'm kind of the one of the first, and now I've got cousins that have gotten into it. But when it started initially, it was just kind of like a fun thing to do. It's like, oh yeah, we went to, me and my mom went to Sam's Club, and she got me like a little $500 starter kit, and I
Mhm.
played around with it a little bit in California, but California isn't exactly too welcoming to new talent. So our house got stuff thrown at it a few times. Uh, so I stopped, and then the move to Texas happened, and I was that close to just being like, you know what? I don't even use these things. They're collecting dust. I'm just gonna throw them away. But for whatever reason, I went ahead and held on to them. Uh, we had obviously the neighborhoods in Texas are a little bit different. Everyone's was a lot more welcoming and still is.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I set up my drum set in my parents' garage, and my I remember very vividly. My mom had this radio slash tape slash CD player that I would steal from the kitchen, set it on a seat next to me, and I would throw on a CD of whatever it was that I was listening to at the time, turn it up full blast, and try to play along with it. And that's how I taught myself how to play.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, I don't even know what a drum tab looks like. I don't know if that's sacrilege or not, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know I don't know what the notes are. I don't know how to read it. I just listen and I play it.
Cool.
But so that, like I said, it turned into kind of like a fun hobby, and then eventually people found out that I played drums in school. One of my buddies, Silverio, he he wanted to start a band. We started doing that. We kind of integrated that into the youth group, and that's when I started playing drums for youth, and then I became a youth leader. So uh, the thing that kind of, just to kind of like bring it back full circle, um, if it felt like, kind of going to what I said initially, there was no direction with a lot of things, but musically that was one of them. But then I started actually picking up the drums and actually I had an ear for it, I would
Mhm.
like to think. And it integrated me into the youth band, which I never thought I would be a part of. And I was already playing metal at the time, with a couple of my friends in Hereford. That band went away, but I kind of, the whole band mentality, the heavy band mentality, kind of stuck with me,
Yeah.
even outside of
Wow.
even outside of youth. And eventually it was just something that I couldn't stop spending money on. It wasn't something that I could like stop, so to speak. And ever since then, ever since starting up initially, from it becoming kind of just a fun thing to do in my parents' garage, to starting up a small metal band in Hereford with a couple of my friends, to joining uh the youth group and kind of integrating myself in there. And then after that, it kind of just took off from there, and I've just kind of been doing it ever since.
That's really amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I think that is so cool. Like, and I can totally relate to the neighbors, like being so, like, just, I mean, I don't know, because sometimes you just have that one neighbor, even if it is Texas. Like, I
Mhm.
literally, one time when I was jamming out with my band, like years ago, I mean, I remember this lady across the street. She was like, I don't know, like 60 something. And she was like, she came to my parents' house, and she was like, I just want to let you know that my TV is shaking and y'all need to stop. And I was like, what the? I'm like, lady, like, what? But your TV's shaking. Like, man, we must be really like going hard over here. I was like, okay. I mean, and then she made a petition for everybody in the neighborhood to be like to get us to stop playing music. It was
Dude, that's so
so,
metal.
I was like, what? Well, I mean, it was like, like Metallica, Megadeth, like that kind of stuff. And she was not about it. She was like, nope. I'm like, she wanted us to go down. And everybody was like, we're not signing it. And I was like, yeah. And now this lady's just
Yes.
like living alone and bitter. And I'm just like, Girl, you just need Jesus. It's all
She
right.
needed the mosh pit. That's what she needed. She
Yeah.
didn't even know it. Just throw down in the pit, lady.
Yes. I love it.
I think the pettiest thing I did. So my brothers got me into metal, right? And we were gonna do a Death Clock cover band.
Oh,
So
nice.
like we had this one neighbor, they would blast the Tejano at like midnight all the way till 3 o'clock in the morning. And I knew they had to get up at 6 just like I did. So what did I do? I got up at 6 o'clock, all of us, me and my brothers. I'm like, come on, it's time. And we went out to the garage, full blast, and everybody's just like, shut up. I'm like, you shut up.
Oh my gosh. That is amazing. I didn't even know that story about you, dude.
Yeah, but did they do it again? They didn't. No more late night parties. And I'm like, I'm glad that we have a mutual understanding.
Problem solved.
Because I respect all musics. Like, let's get down. It's so funny. Thanks for sharing that, guys.
Yes, thank you. Do y'all have anything else to add, like, to that question before we move on?
For me, I guess, my answer to that, so I was, kind of in Gio's boat. I don't come from a family of musicians. I was never a musician. All my family, we played sports. That's all we did. Growing up, that's all we ever did. I have a few uncles that played, in bands here and there, but nothing that was ever really like serious, where we were around it enough for it to even, have any sort of effect. When I was 15, me and my best friend, we were with each other 24/7, hanging out, playing basketball, doing everything together. He ended up passing away when we were 15, and before he had passed, he stopped playing sports and just wanted to play guitar. That's all he ever did. He would be in his room when I would come over, learning songs, and I'm like, dude, no, like let's go play basketball. Let's go do something. I don't want to play music. And I remember one conversation I had with him. He told me, he was like, when I grow up, I want to be in a band. I want to travel, around the world and play shows. I want to be in a Christian band. I want to play at a church. I want to do all things. And so when he passed, and like the only real like thing I held on to was walking up to his casket. They made me go by myself for that. All I could see was his guitar, and I told his mom, like, my promise to her and to him was I was going to pick that up, learn how to play it, and do everything that he said he wanted to do with it. And that kind of like got me into music. When I started, I was not in a Christian based band. We just kind of played metal music, but then it slowly started transitioning, and I met up with these guys. I met Gio in a band. I met Justin in a band, and then it turned into this. So that was kind of like my motivation for everything music, and to be able to do, the things that he had been wanting to do his whole life was a huge thing for me, just personally.
Wow. We haven't had a story. I don't think we've ever had a story like that, right, Chill? That is really incredible. Like, usually it's like, oh, like, my best friend passed away, and like, oh, he left his car, like, but it wasn't fixed, and I'm gonna like fix it for him. But like, never like that. Like, that is like,
Passing of
wow.
the torch. Passing of the torch.
Yes, that is like incredible. That is amazing. I bet you he's smiling at you too,
Hopefully he's
doing
headbanging.
this.
Yeah, there you go.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Oh, don't make me start crying over here.
I started. I was like,
I know. I
"Keep it
looked at
together."
you, dude.
I was like, keep it together.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Thank you guys for sharing that. And now going into, the band questions, as a collective, how do you get inspiration for your music? Is it, going out in nature? Is it just reading the word? Is it like, stuff that you've gone through in your own life? How do you guys get inspiration to write the stuff that you do?
I would say for me, a lot of it has to do with like personal experience. When I I know it sounds weird, but when I sit down to like write, I'll think of, something that I've been through personally and try to translate it into what I think it would have sounded like as opposed to what it actually felt like. Which I know sounds really weird, but like to bring emotion out in the music is like I just kind of put myself back into a situation, how I felt, what my thoughts were, and then just kind of play it out again, and then just try to. It's almost like putting a soundtrack to a movie. Like what I think
Yeah.
would have been playing in the background in these certain scenes is how I kind of just like start throwing stuff, riffs, everything together.
Mhm.
That is
That's
so
really cool.
cool. I was gonna ask, like, so I know some people do it differently. Do you guys start off with like lyrics first or the music first, or does it kind of like just like, I don't know, a couple of chords here and then you're like, you know what, I'm gonna write this about that, like
Mhm.
from what you were saying. How's that process look like?
I think it's kind of a mix. Because I know for the newer stuff, I guess kind of the older stuff, we the initial EP, the I Am one, we were just in a garage, and we would come in, we would practice, we would leave, we would come back with some more extra parts to whatever it was that we were working on, and we would kind of go in there and actually play it. These days for the sort of newer stuff, and I know Justin can expand on this one. He's kind of like our main songwriter.
Yeah.
He'll uh bring us some material. I know I came out, and one of my more proud moments was I was working on something for like 3 months, and then I was like, all right, Chris, let's get this thing done. And we sat down in front of our little system, and we pounded out an entire song with guitars and drums and a little bit of production in like 3.5 hours. And then we kind of
Wow.
so it really just the the newer kind of process of songwriting these days, I feel like is changed. But as far as motivation, uh and kind of to wrap up my side of it, the motivate I've always been a very emotional player, and Chris and Justin can back me up. So whenever I play, I tend to, maybe not so much these days because I have to be a little more grounded, because now we have like click tracks and production, and I kind of have to keep everything from running away. Back in the day, whenever we were more free form, a little less organized, and we can thank Justin for that too. He kind of whipped us into shape musically, which I've appreciated.
100%.
Yeah. Back in the day, I was and I kind of still am a very emotional player. Like I reckless abandon for sure. I can't control myself when it comes to drums. These days I can, obviously, because it's kind of by design. But back in the day, the thing that I was kind of known for locally was just, okay, yeah, there's Gio. He smacks the crap out of his drums, and it's fun to watch.
I
Um,
love that.
so whenever it comes to like writing drum parts, to me the main focus is, do I feel good playing it? Because at the end of the day, if it's boring to me, it's gonna translate that way to everyone else. And then
Mm-hmm.
do I think that it makes me feel something? Because if I'm bored playing it, then everyone else is going to be bored listening to it, because I think we can all agree at the end of the day, I know we can say we're musicians, but even at the end of the day, we all consume music. We all know what we like. There's songs that make us feel something, and there's other songs that are just nice to listen to relax.
Mm-hmm.
And some people listen to metal to relax. I know I'm one of those. They're like, wow, how can you be listening to a song with a breakdown full blast and you're falling asleep? I'm like, I don't know. It's just, I feel like it's just relaxing at this point. But the kind of in the writing process, like if it makes me feel good, and if I'm entertained, then I feel like I can make that translate mostly on stage, and make, because I mean, you go to live shows for what? For the experience. Um, And if I can make that, what we've written beforehand and translate that into something enjoyable, then that's kind of what gives me the drive to write.
That's so cool. I love that. Honestly, like I can agree with, like, at least with me and Chill when we were on the worship team together, and like we can just like feel like the music, like just like even just hearing the people, like just like getting into it and like just feeling like all, like everybody's like emotion, like it's like a whole, like I don't even know how to describe it. It's just
The feeling.
something, yeah, it's just the feeling, like you're just like in like a trance almost, like you're just in it and there's like no getting out of it at all. And like it's just so cool. Like I love that. I'm glad I've never heard the term like emotional like player, but I'm like I'm definitely one of those. I'm gonna start using that for myself. I love it. It's
Hey,
so cool.
hey, stick that in your back pocket and take it with you wherever you go.
Yes. All right. How about you, Justin?
Well, there's a lot of factors that play into it. I do, I can kind of latch on to the emotion thing, because that's what I think music is all about. If you try, if you were to try and watch a movie without any kind of background music, it would probably be pretty lame, you know,
Mm,
or big parts, emotional parts, love story parts of it wouldn't have the effect that they put out without music behind it. That's what's used to project that emotion out to people. And so in writing, it's not like that's a huge thing, like, oh, I'm trying to convey some animosity through it's like, okay, that feels good. All right. Okay, well, now I need to, we got that main part feels good. All right. Well, we still got to build the rest of the song. So how do I get from A to C? Well, I got to build a part that's B, and blah, 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 so on and so forth. You build that out. But it all has to flow. It all has to be, you know, everything has to work together. But ultimately, that you have to create an emotion with that song. So yeah, do I have a concept in my head usually of like what it needs to be about? That's probably what starts it, is like, okay, I want to do a song about this, but I how what what conveys that? And it's like, okay, yeah, all right, I kind of hear that, get a guitar out, mess around a little bit, start figuring parts out. Um and but also like the live aspect. So you still got to play these songs in front of people, and you have to, it needs to be, doesn't have to be, but needs to probably be entertaining. So I try to factor that in, like, okay, we got to build up this part, set it up, and then bam, deliver on it.
Right.
mhm.
So the live, for us, all the types of bands that we played in before, and just the type of performers we are, we got to have that dynamic so that we can perform, because I think we take, that's important to us. We take pride in our live show that we've worked on it. Not saying like we take pride in it that we're good at it, but we take pride in putting the effort in
Yeah.
to be, something that people want to watch.
Right.
Mhm.
The songs have to convey that, or you have to give yourselves opportunities in the song to be able to do those. So it's all those things. As far as just getting inspired, usually it's, for me, it's just like, um that, shouldn't say like listening to other stuff, but it's like, oh man, that song, when I listen to that song, it makes me feel like this.
Yeah.
So cool if I could create a song that, that made me feel that way. And then, but I could take it here and do that, blah, blah, blah. So, it's kind of all over the place for me, honestly.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's really cool. And I can see why, like, they're like, yes, sensei, like to you, you know, because you're like,
Yeah.
that's exactly what I hear from y'all.
Yeah,
Well, like,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it was definitely fun to kind of be, for lack of a better term, kind of a like free form artist. I kind of,
Mhm.
the one benefit of being a drummer is that, like, I mean, I not to toot my own horn or anything, but I mean, I can keep time at least, so I
Right.
know I'm good at doing that. But it's a whole different ball game whenever you get, you link up with certain people that want to take what you do and what you enjoy. It doesn't even have to be the best. It doesn't have to be something that's like, we're not exactly breaking boundaries or anything like that, but for us we are.
Yeah.
In general, we're not. Obviously, we're playing music just like everyone else, trying to make it sound the best, just like everyone obviously wants to try to sound their best. But whenever it comes to us personally, uh linking up with somebody that, like, it's like, okay, you know what, we're good, this is what we can do to get better, just as a whole or personally. And yeah, I'll definitely I you know I'll give credit where credit's due. Was definitely more of a free form artist before I decided to join up with Justin and the guys. And now it just, and me personally, I feel like I'm better for it. It's
Yeah.
definitely made me a better musician, a better performer. Because if not, then it would be just me doing what I normally do, go through a bag of sticks of performance, because it's fun to hit metal things with sticks, So.
Yeah, it does.
See, I'm coming from this classical background, right? So like my focus when it comes to music, super technical. So when I started playing at the worship team, that really challenged me in like finding my own niche and working around other people's emotions, right? Like that was the first time that I was in a setting where people really were playing through their emotions. So here I am playing with the guys, and I feel like for me personally, I've hit that turning point where it's like, okay, the technical stuff, now the emotional stuff, we need to put that together so now we can actually express things. And I'm kicking myself in the butt because when I was going to college for music, I did not pay attention as well as I should have in music theory. And I'm like, that would be really helpful right now. Why did I not do that?
See, that's the same for me. Like, before in my older bands, like I just would just play, and whatever I thought sounded good, I would just go with that. But then once, um, I started playing with them, like Justin was probably the first one that's ever like not necessarily been like you're doing this wrong, but
Mhm.
was kind of like showing me like, yeah, that's good, but there's better ways to do that, and kind
Mhm.
of brought in this whole like different process of structuring things and how to get from A to B, as opposed to just like having a pause and then starting, B after you're done with A. Like, so I mean, like Gio said, he was the drummer that just did whatever. I was kind of the guitar player in my bands. It was like, oh yeah, we're just gonna run through all this as fast as we can.
Yep.
But Justin
Yep.
kinda came in and had, the experience and was able to be like, okay, look, try structuring it like this, try moving this over here and, building something right here to get to that spot. So it really has like made me um approach writing differently and almost like brought out a better version that I didn't even know was in there of me,
Yeah.
as far as the writing process goes.
See, and what
Yeah.
I like hearing too is like it seems like all of you guys have that growth mindset to where you're willing to
Mhm.
pour into one another and actually listen to each other constructively and not take it personally and be like, no, I'm doing it great and there's something wrong with you and you just need to accept that. Like, no, I really like that you guys are like, you're focused on, again, just bringing that excellence to your music and making sure not only you enjoy it, but other people can enjoy it too. That's really cool.
Yeah, ultimately, I
And
feel like that's the goal.
one other thing that plays into it too, and I'm glad y'all said that you did, is I started playing on our worship team like maybe, I guess it's probably close to 10
Yeah.
years now, getting close, but I learned so much from that because there are such good, y'all can see my son
Yeah.
cry.
Uh-huh.
I can see
Yeah,
Cross
I
do
see
that
Cross,
one.
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that's my son Cross. I don't know what he's doing, but anyway, been playing on our worship team about 10 years now, and getting to play like some of the musicians that we have are unreal. I mean, just like one of the guys that plays keys, they did like a volunteer appreciation thing at this place here in town. It's called the Globe News Theater. It's a super cool venue that has all kinds of different acts that come through. But they did a volunteer appreciation thing, so they were doing like a comedy show, and he was playing some jazz stuff while everybody was coming in, and I thought it was like a guy that they brought in, and they were like, "Oh, that's Sean." I was like, "No way," because it was amazing jazz piano, and it's just when you're around those types of professional musicians, I mean, that are just amazing, you're gonna, if you want to, and if you try, you're gonna pick stuff up from them,
Right.
and then just being part of the our team, they are pretty professional about things. Like we usually have rehearsals like on Thursdays, like tonight got canceled for other reasons, but we rehearse during the week, and then we're there early. Sorry.
That's okay.
No, it's okay. Dad life.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Hey, I'll do this in a minute, okay? Here. They're very professional about what they do and rehearse and want it to be right. So, taking some of that professionalism and seeing what it takes to get to that level, but also seeing what, the benefits that are reaped from being professional like that. I kind of took that and was like, "Hey guys, let's do trying things like this and that," and getting feedback from like our live shows. We do get some good, like, "You guys look professional." Like, we'll play local shows and they're like, "Where are you guys from?" We're like, "Here."
Yeah, we're from here.
That's always
That's
a
the
compliment, right?
best.
They're like,
That's
"Oh, we
always a
thought
compliment.
you were touring." Like, no, I just live over there.
Yeah. Hey, well, what city y'all going next? Back home?
home? That's where we're going. You can come see us at work.
Yeah,
Oh
So-
my gosh.
it's
But
funny.
anyway, yeah, like the worship team, I'm so glad that I decided to be a part of that, because it's helped me be a better musician, grow bigger in my faith. It just, I love the headspace you get in. Like, I wish more, Christ following musicians would get involved, because you
Yeah.
get in this headspace that, like, I can't explain it. And this, I don't know, I keep saying all these cheesy lines, but it's, to me, it's like I've kind of been thinking this recently, is I compare it to being in a dream, like, not like, "Oh, it's a dream to play." No, like, this sometimes when you get in a dream, you're in this weird mind space,
Yeah.
or headspace, and like, that's how I get whenever I'm in a song in worship. It's
Yeah.
like no other. So, and I love that, and I'm so glad that I got to do that, and it's led to other things that I've been able to to spread with these guys, and just in our music outside of the worship team. So they kind of it all plays together. And that was the whole thing. Was I did heavy music before I did the worship, so it was like I had to learn a whole different dynamic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's so
On
different.
stage. That'd be the hardest part for me, is staying still on stage.
Yeah, you gotta
Yeah.
vibe.
Oh no, that's easy for me, because I'm a nervous wreck usually. I don't want to mess it up. Mess Granny Moo my Sunday up because I played something.
Right? Did he just play a breakdown? Yeah.
But you know what? These church people, like, they love it. Like, they're big bass heads. Like, me and Chill have talked
Yeah.
about it. Like when you add some like metal like in the mix, and like they're like, "That sounds good. What is that?"
Yep.
And it's like you add some like riff, or you add like a certain like drum pattern, and then they're like, man, I've never heard it like that before. That's really cool. And
And
then
we're like, yes.
yeah, so it's like you don't even know, dude. I'm
So
like, you're
I'll tell you,
closer.
one thing that I did one time was we did this little holiday medley thing, and one of them was, God, what was it? Some common song that had this little twist on it, and it had this lead part in it, and I was like, you know what? That's like the same kind of key as the Top Gun theme.
Oh,
Ooh.
Mm. And I played the Top Gun theme once on it, and nobody.
I love it.
That's so awesome.
Oh my gosh.
That's perfect. So I don't know. It was cool.
worship band shenanigans. Now you guys know what we do when we rehearse.
Right?
Before church service. Now you know the secrets.
Right. For real though. All right. So now I'm going to get into the next couple of questions, and then we will get into the gospel. So the next question I have for you guys is, what is your favorite song that you have written so far?
Mine would. Oh man, I don't know.
Or it could be a couple. I mean, I know all of you guys, I don't probably have different ones, but
So
you know.
our newest single is probably the best one, like structurally and just in terms of quality songwriting, probably the best one. And we had some help doing that and getting it to where it needed to be. But so there's a part in one of our songs called "It Is Finished" that's really cool. It's this little breakdown thing that's not anything special, crazy, but it's unique, and I love that little part in it. But I would probably say my favorite's "I Am," because it was one of those songs that it wrote itself. Like, and the best ones always do. They're effortless to write. They just flow together while you're doing it, and then it comes out. And that one, it wasn't one that took like weeks to figure out parts for and make it work. It all literally, I think I did that song in like 2 sessions, 2 days of getting it put together. So, and those ones are the ones that flow the best. They're effortless, usually end up being the better ones. So that's probably mine.
I love that. We're gonna make sure to link that down below and have people listen to that, because you got to plug in the social. But we will do that towards the end. But yes, I love it. What about you guys?
My favorite song that Justin wrote is probably that's not like for real, but because I came in like late. I actually started playing bass when I joined this band. But they had already, written all these songs, so I just kind of came in and learned them. But I'm gonna have to say "I Am" is my favorite. Simply for two reasons. One, the Bible verse behind it, "Be still and know that I am God." That's a big verse for me, because that's something that I have a hard time doing. And so that resonates with me. But also it's the performance, because to me, that is the song that if you wanted to see us play and you only got to see one song, make sure it's that song. That's the song that I feel like hits the hardest live. And the ending breakdown for me is probably one of the best breakdowns that we have. It gets the crowd going. Just how we go into it, how it flows is, to me, probably one of the best, like I said, best breakdowns we have. But that's my favorite song for sure.
Oh, I'm excited. Oh, I can't wait to hear what he's gonna say now. It's gonna be the same one. Just kidding.
Oh, no. So no, well, I mean, as far as like writing, I can agree with Justin. I think Tidal Wave has been one of the things, like one of the more, if I had to put a word to it, probably one of the more professional things that I've ever been a part of musically. Just because it was, I mean, it felt like I mean, every song is a team effort eventually. the concept obviously has to be brought up by someone, and then everyone kind of picks away at it. But when it came to tidal wave, it was something that started off as one thing, but then it became something completely different. And I know that that's like kind of a cliche thing to say, but when it comes to that one specifically, as far as me being a part of it, listening to how the song was when it started to what it became, the only word that I can describe it as is like I mean, it was being in a professional setting, working with someone who's, you know, been doing songwriting for years and years and years, longer than I've been doing music, and putting something together with the production, with the verses and the choruses, and it all it's a very professional thing to be a part of. It's obviously very fun. It's obviously like I said, personally, when it comes to writing, when it comes to being a part of something, I think tidal wave would be mine. But as far as like my personal favorite of all the things that we've written, I think mine is probably Hearts and Minds, and there's a couple of reasons behind that. So Hearts and Minds to me, it starts off. It's like a traditional metalcore bouncy song. It's something that you can get into easily. The ending kind of winds down and kind of gives us a minute to just kind of catch our breath at the end, for so to speak, which is obviously nice to have whenever you're, you know, flailing your arms everywhere and, you know, getting into it. But to me, it would be easy to say I Am, obviously, because that's just the song that everyone knows, that everyone can get into. I can agree 1,000% with Chris. If there's gonna be like, if for example we got a chance to play in front of however many people, and like, okay, you got one song to play, you can only play one. Which one's it gonna be? It would definitely be I Am. But as far as one that's fun, that I can get into, that it's like effortless, that it's one of the most fun to play for me, it would definitely be Hearts and Minds.
Nice.
I'm definitely gonna look more into it, because I'm like, after hearing it and hearing y'all's feedback, I'm like, all right, gotta do a whole binge now on all of this music, because I only heard one song so far, and I want to hear more. I
Yeah,
was
that new. Oh, sorry,
oh,
sis, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I definitely noticed how polished and how tight that new release is.
Yeah.
Like, you could
Yeah.
really
Mhm.
tell,
Mhm.
like, y'all were synced in. It was really good. That's all.
Yeah, it was definitely like I said, if there was a word to describe it, it would be like probably one of the most professional things that I've ever been a part of. It's hard to believe, like even to this day, it's kind of hard to believe that that's something that, you know, that we wrote, that we took to someone that helped us refine everything. It was kind of like, you know, taking a raw piece of iron to a blacksmith. Okay, let me polish this thing up real quick, and then okay, here you go, make it happen. And it felt professional, and it still does to this day for sure.
Yeah, it sounds great.
I love it. That makes me excited to like listen to more. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into the last two questions before we wrap it up, and then get into the gospel portion. What is, or I guess each of you can answer differently, but what's one of your most memorable moments with your music so far? I saw you guys recently had a show in Lubbock, and man, that looked packed. And I saw you were with Brightburn. I was like, oh my gosh, we wanted to get Brightburn too. I was like, yes, it's just so good. Like,
Good.
I'm so curious on what you guys would answer for this question.
Well, as far as like musically as a whole, there's one story in particular that sticks out to me, because it was the moment that I realized, and kind of going back to that, the question of like kind of what gives you the motivation. So this was one of the first tours that I think I ever did. So I used to be in a band called Hornets versus Bees, and
Okay.
I love it.
we went on tour in 2009, and it was literally, we started here and then we went up to Oklahoma City, and then from Oklahoma City we drove all the way down to Corpus Christi.
Nice. I've done that run. That's a
Oh
fun
yeah,
one.
it's great. But so we played in Oklahoma, and we were playing some dive bar. It was kind of just it seemed like it was like say the word dive bar and then picture something in your head. Congratulations, you got it. So we go, we're setting up. There was 5 bands on the bill. We played fourth, I believe, or third. I don't know, 2009. And we go. There's probably a handful of people there. We play, and this was back in the day where I would sort of get off the kit, walk around, grab the mic, and sort of give a testimony, and just kind of I would, back in the day, I would kind of be like, we are whatever band I'm in. We're a big fan of Jesus. If y'all aren't, that's perfectly fine. I'm not here to shove my beliefs down your throat, but we just want to let you know who we are, what we're about, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
Nice.
I love
so,
that.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, I would get up, do a little spiel. I would introduce the next song, and then we would go into it. Well, so we get done with our set, we're breaking everything down, and our keyboardist at the time is like, "Hey, y'all, come outside." So I was the last one that they grabbed, obviously, because drums, they are super fun to put away. And any drummer can back me up on this. It's
good times.
But so I was the last one out there, and it was all the guys huddled around this one dude, and he was crying, and I was like, okay, what's happening? So it turns out that he had driven in from some random town in Oklahoma, hours away, and he had a weapon with him, and he was going to do a not so cool thing with it that night because his life was not going very well, and he told us his whole story. Lost his job, lost his kids, to a very vindictive partner who was just out to get him. It was a whole thing, and the moment that I knew, and I remember it completely vividly to this day, because it was the moment that I knew that I was like, okay, you know what, I need to keep doing this.
Yeah.
He was in there getting his drinks, spending the last amount of money that he had before he decided to call it a day, and I go up there and I start doing what we do, and then we go and we talk about it. And he told us that something told him to talk to us to see if there was something else.
Wow.
We ended up hanging out with that dude. Our keyboardist at the time, his name was Josh. He grabbed a Bible from out of our vehicle, handed it to him. A couple of the bands, and the band that we were on tour with, we ended up going to IHOP that night. And he came with us, and he hung out with us for the rest of the night. We kept up with him for a couple of years after that, and I lost touch because this was like a few cell phones ago.
Yeah.
Lost contacts since then. But the last I heard, he was getting an apartment, he got a job, and he was just trying to basically start back from zero.
Yeah.
But it's one of those stories where it feels like it should be in a movie. Like that should be a scene in a movie that was written to be cheesy.
Yeah.
So if there's one of the handful of things that I can say in this life that I've actually been like, you know what, that was another thing that kind of reaffirmed my faith. It's like, you know what, you can call it coincidence if you want. That's perfectly fine. I'm not going to knock anyone for saying that, oh, well, that's just coincidence. Yes, it is coincidence that a random Texas band in a random year on a random day in a random town at a random bar decided to go. And he didn't live in Oklahoma City. He decided to take a trip for hours away to spend all of his money to just, be away from everything. And we just so happened to be there that night of that year, of that month, whatever. It could be, it very well could be. I'm not going to knock that from, sure. Or it could mean that there was something out there that was controlling absolutely everything. And at the end of that night, and even to this day, I know who the glory belongs to. I didn't do anything. We didn't do anything. All we did was pass the message along from the from the one that the message mattered. And I always used to say, if I even save one person, or if one person tells me that they turn their heart to God, or whatever the case may be, because of my music, then, you know, I did a good job. And that happened when I was 19, you know, and here I am at 33 still doing it. But, you know, there's a lot of motivation behind it. But if I have to pick, I mean, there's a lot of options. I know we've been blessed to open for huge bands and do a lot of things musically. You know, being a part of Tidal Wave in the production is definitely one of them. But if I had to pick personally, that would definitely be it, for sure.
Nice.
Thank you for sharing that. That was amazing. Wow. What about you guys? Do you have anything to share?
Yeah, I mean, I had a similar story, not quite as extreme as Gio's, but there's you know, a guy that reached out and, you know, said he was in a bad way. I think he was actually a kid. He was getting picked on in school, and this was with my previous band, and you know, he latched on to this one song, and you know, gave him some comfort when he was going through rough times. You know, I remember that. It really sticks out. But here, you know, here recently, when we did this, you know, this single Tidal Wave, the one we keep talking about, you know, we got to work with a producer that is, you know, recognized through the industry with some big names, big bands, and he chose to work with us. He didn't have to do that. And in working with us, you know, he put out some effort, and some effort that he didn't have to. He could have just hit the record button, said go, gave us, you know, a recording, and said, see you guys later. Go on your way. But you know, he really went the extra mile, because I think, you know, we built a friendship with him, and he liked the song. You know, I mean, he liked it enough to make it better, and not just, you know, say bye. So that whole experience really stands out to me. It was a lot of fun. It was frustrating at times. It made us grow, you know, forced us to get out of our comfort zones a little bit, you know, to make something even better. And it was just overall, like, when you think of making a song in a professional way, or a level above where you were, that's what I think about, going through that experience.
Yeah, shout out Chris.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for
Did
sharing
you guys
that.
go to Tonal? Is that who you're talking about? Tonal Studios?
No, I don't know what his studio is called. His name's Chris Dawson.
I think it is Tonal Studios. Okay, that's cool.
It's like a Apothic or something. I think it's
Yeah.
Apothic Records. I think our studio.
Okay, cool.
I totally butchered that. Sorry, Chris. Sorry.
I love the shout out.
So for me, mine is going to be tidal wave related. But it's not even necessarily, doesn't have anything to do with the song. But it was actually going to shoot the music video for Tidal. We decided that it would be a good idea to from the St. Louis airport to an Airbnb, which was about, I think, 8 miles uphill.
Uphill the whole time.
Oh, wow.
So you may not see it in the video, but we are exhausted. Or I was, for sure.
Oh yeah.
My calf was locked up the whole time. Like, my legs were cramped. I mean, I was on the verge of collapsing through that whole thing. But being in, well, and that was the crazy part, was we were literally standing where POD had just shot their video. So, and that was a band I grew up listening to in high school, like, all the time. I had satellite. I played that thing on repeat. And just, you know, like, when we went to record it, to be working with somebody who's worked with, you know, all these big names, that is actually like, you know, you guys, I want to work with y'all. Like, that is one thing. But when you go and you're standing where a band that you grew up listening to was literally just standing. And then you watch the music videos and you're like, I'm right there. Like that's where we just were. It's I can't even put that into words, but it was hard to stand for sure because Walk was very unforgiving.
Oh
But,
man.
we definitely had to earn that music
Oh
video.
yeah, oh yeah, we did.
Hard work pays off.
That
Yeah.
is a big thing to me. Probably a, I don't know if you call it a career defining, whatever you want to call it, defining moment of, I can think back to being in high school and listening to POD, and they're on this level. They are the top. Like they are, I mean, you can think whatever about them, their music as a band, whatever, but at that time, they're huge, huge, huge. And like, I would have never in a million years thought I would be doing anything that they had done in the same, or been in the same room with anything that they had done. You know, and them and Atreyu did a video with this same guy. You know,
Yes.
I mean, they're whatever, but just these are bands that back then I would have never even thought that I would be doing this stuff. And you know, and it's not, you know, in terms of what people have done and size of bands, we're not there. But the fact that we have climbed this ladder slowly but surely, and you know, and we're not looking for notoriety at all, and that's not what I'm getting at. It's just we've put in all this work, and then somehow things have aligned where we've been able to have these opportunities. And so for me, that is, it's just like, what did I do to deserve this? Like this is crazy.
I feel that. I do. It's almost surreal. Like I can't believe this is real. Like I'm really doing
Yeah.
this.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
shout out JT over at what is it?
Stage
Yeah,
27.
Stage 27. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that guy is so fun to work with, man. Him and Steven Inman, those dudes they made the whole thing, so it was so much fun. Like it was just like hanging out with the bros, and we literally just met them that day.
That's the best.
Yeah.
We're just hanging out with the guys.
If I can add also one of my, I guess, the other thing that I could tack on to the end of this, as far as memorable, is kind of like, you know, it goes way back, but when my first band broke up, I honestly never thought I'd play music again. There for a while, I felt like I had wrapped my whole identity around the fact that I was a musician. And when I lost it, I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know that I could be something outside of somebody who was in a band, because that's how everyone, you know, that I knew, that's kind of how they knew me. He's like, oh yeah, that's Chris, he's in this band. Or you know, most of my family was like, oh, that's our cousin or our nephew, or you know, that plays metal music. Like that's just what I let my identity be, almost become. And when I lost it, it was when I had a moment where I was like, God, I don't like what's going on. I don't know what's going on. And he's like, this whole time you thought your identity was wrapped up in what you did, but you've never come to me to actually figure out what your real identity is, and it's only found in me. And I had this moment in my apartment where I was staring at all my musical equipment that I had, and I was like, okay, well, what do you want me to do with it? And he's like, I want you to get rid of it. And I was like, well, I can sell it because, you know, I can use the money. And he was like, no, get rid of it, give it away. So oddly enough, I get on Facebook and there's a guy asking for anyone that knows of a cab and a head that's for sale. And I was like, oh, okay, that's how convenient. So I send the guy a text. I was like, hey man, look, this is what I have. Do you want it? And he was like, sure. So he comes by, and I'll never forget the conversation because and I won't say his name, but he was a person who was not a believer.
Yeah.
And he knew that I was. So when he comes to get this equipment, I'm shaking, handing this stuff to him. And he's like, so how much do I owe you? And I was like, you don't owe me anything. And he's
man.
like, no, I'm like, for real, like, I gotta pay you something. Like, what can I give you? And I was like, there's nothing that you can give me. I'm just giving this to you for free. And he was like, got tears in his eyes. And he was like, why would you do this? And it was one of those moments where you feel like the Holy Spirit takes over and you just like pushed off to the side.
Yep.
And all I told him was, I was like, look, you didn't do anything to deserve this. You
Oh,
didn't do anything to earn this, but you came to get it, so I'm giving it to you for free.
Yep.
Woo, that's a
The
word.
thing that I want you to understand is that this is exactly what salvation is. If you believe in Jesus, is you didn't do anything to deserve it. There's nothing that you can do to earn it. But the second that you want it, all you have to do is go to him and it's yours.
Yes.
And I walked up, obviously back to my apartment crying because of the conversation, but also because I gave away thousands of dollars of equipment that I probably could have used for rent or a car payment.
I remember when you gave that away, dude.
But what's crazy is when I got upstairs, I was like, why did you make me do that? And he's like, if you were willing to give that up, that gift, if you're willing to give that up, that's how I know you're ready to actually use it.
Yes.
And then lo and behold, this band comes along a few years later, and that exact same equipment that I gave away, I have right now. So
oh my
it's a cool
gosh.
moment for me, to actually see him do something in a way that I had never really seen before.
Mm-hmm.
That seed was sown, my friend. That is like, oh my gosh. I'm like, podcast over. No, just kidding. Oh, like that was just, I can't. Oh my gosh, that was, woo. So that actually ties in really well with our last question before I get into the social media and stuff. If you had to give a piece of advice to a new musician wanting to create heavy worship and just start out, or even just a musician that's wanting to follow God and wanting to do this, what would you guys tell them?
Do it for whatever your passion is, do it for that reason. Don't do it just to, I don't know, don't do it for notoriety. Don't do it because that's what you do when you're in a band. Don't do it, whatever reasons, just, make your biggest reason is passion. If your passion is just spreading word and you want to use music to do that, that's great. If you just have a passion for music and this happens to be your outlet for it, then by all means. But if you're doing it just to be in a band or something and you're using the worship thing as maybe a unique deal or a twist, it's not going to last.
Mhm.
When you do things for for passion, they last a lot longer. They're more authentic. Their people see that they're real. I think the success that we've had is because we love what we do. We love playing music. We love playing music together in a band. You know, we love God. We love a lot of it. And the members that we've had in the band that have come and gone didn't share that same passion. And
Mhm.
and so when things got tough, or it wasn't as flashy, or we weren't getting the notoriety, they bailed, because that's not what their heart wasn't the same place that ours was.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's having that passion in the drive, in our reasons, being the same, is what has both given us success and is what has let us continue to do it. So, if you have the passion and you have the patience, just keep on. Like, no matter how good you are, maybe you suck terribly, as long as you keep practicing and you want it, man, it's gonna happen. Just give it time. And if it doesn't happen, whatever it is, you're still doing what you love, and
Yeah.
you eat that. So
Thank you for sharing that.
I would have to agree completely. And like, I feel like if to whoever, don't worry about likes and follows. I feel like we live in a world right now that sums you up based off of how many likes or how many followers you have. And I think our biggest thing was like, we never really pay attention to, that kind of stuff. Like Justin said, I think with people that have come and gone, I feel like that was their main focus, was like, well, it's not doing anything. It's like, well, what's it supposed to be doing? Like, we're writing, we're doing everything that we love to do. Like, if it happens to blow up to a bigger scale, then cool. But if not, we're still doing it. But I feel like it's kind of nowadays come to where it's like, well, how many followers do you have? Do you have this many or that many? And to me, I'm like, we're not supposed to be telling people to follow us. We're supposed to be telling people to follow Jesus. Like,
there we go.
that switch, because I don't remember seeing that. Like, I feel like everyone's like, well, we got to have a lot of followers and stuff like that, which, if we say follow us on Spotify and stuff like that, it's not going to be a big deal if you don't.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not the end of the world to us. Like, we're still gonna put out music. We're still gonna do what we love to do regardless, like Justin said. But that would be the main thing, is to just not worry about that kind of stuff, because if you're passionate about it, I mean, you'll do it no matter what. To me, I feel like passion is more important than almost anything else.
Thank you for sharing that. I know you got something there, Gio. You're all looking up at the ceiling. I'm like, what's he gonna say?
No, I agree with the guys. I think if I was to tell anybody, because I know I've had people sort of ask me in the past, like, hey, I want to pick up, like, they see me kind of share our promotional stuff, our Spotify and things like that, the music video obviously, and like, oh, that looks like it's fun. I want to start learning how to play an instrument or whatever. Or I've got some friends that have told me that their kids are wanting to, pick up an instrument. And if to them I've told, and to anyone who would be starting initially, I would probably just tell, like, a piece of advice: just get ready to fail. But let me expand on that. So I think failure is a part of the process when it comes to anything, really, especially when it comes to music, because and the guys can back me up on this. We didn't everything that we've been able to do up until now, we didn't get right the first time. It was a process. It took months and months and months of prep. Sometimes we would figure it out. Some days we'd go home mad because we couldn't figure it out. So, okay, chalk a nail up to the board and just, keep it pushing. I know that there might be some people, and I don't want to sound like a sage or anything like that, but I'm sure that there's some people out there that think, okay, well, you know what? It's just pick up an instrument and start learning how to play it, and then eventually the things will happen. I've been friends with people in the past that, like, hey, I see you doing music. That looks cool. I want to do it too. They pick it up for a little while, then they get bored, and then they move on to something else.
Yeah.
Because all the cool things didn't happen immediately, like they see that it's happening. Well, yeah, well, there's a lot of failure that led up to that point, to the success. So that would be something to keep in mind. If you're not willing to well, first of all, take the risk. I mean, you're putting time, you're putting money, you're putting the effort to basically build something out of nothing. And by something, I mean the art that comes with playing the instrument. If you want to involve yourself into that and actually make something out of it, there's going to be obviously you can't get from A to D without going for the B and C first.
Right.
And it doesn't happen instantaneously. There isn't just a metric. Here's the secrets of my success. Follow these paths, and you will be able to tour the East Coast.
Right.
All the work that gets into it. Obviously, there's a level of passion that comes with it. But if you're not willing to accept the fact that, we're not going to get it right the first time, you go into it positive. And sometimes it doesn't work out. It is what it is. You can either choose to quit at that point, or it's like, okay, we'll try again tomorrow, whatever, and call it a day, and then wake up the next day and try again. I know that's been a big thing with me, where if we're not able to figure some stuff out or whatever, there's a level of frustration that'll come with it. But it's like, okay, cool, we didn't get anything done.
Mhm.
But I mean, I've lucked out with these guys, and we'll actually have conversations and be like, you know what, it is what it is, man. Let's just keep it going. Or, you know, if things don't work out the way that they should, it's like, you know what, we'll come back and we'll try again. Uh, then there's a process to it. But that would be my biggest piece of advice is like, you know what, if it doesn't happen the first time and you don't have the drive to try it again, then I mean, was the passion really there to begin with? Probably not, and that's okay. You know, that's fine. But if the passion is there and the willingness to, you know, to try again after the failure, I think that's where something good happens. Whether it's big and it's massive and the whole world sees it, or it just helps your personal growth as a person in the finite amount of time that we have, you know, here, then to me that seems like it's worth it. Because I mean, that helps you grow not only just, you know, yourself, but with, you know, the people that you share the passion with. So that'd probably be something for me.
Thank you so much for sharing, you guys. That was so good. And I really appreciate you guys, taking time out of your day and, from your children and your families and everything. And um, it means a lot to us that you would take this time. And so before we get into the gospel portion, I do have one more question to ask, which is what are your plans for the future? Are there any more tour dates or any more release dates? And if you guys can plug your social media so everybody can go listen to you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm kind of the
Social media guy.
more often than not, if you see something from us, I'd say about 80% of it is me. Just because I mean I've decided to take that upon myself. It's always nice to work in a, you know, on hit. That's one thing. Again, if I got to give credit to anybody, I got to give credit to Justin on that. It's nice to come at different things at different angles to get better results.
Right.
But yeah, as far as the recording, the releases, so we're trying uh to finalize a few new tracks. We're trying to get back into the studio. Dates are still pending, obviously. Um, you know, with everyone having different schedules and, you know, trying to make those align, there's obviously that element of okay, well, we have to make sure that everyone is able to make it happen. So don't have any dates on releases yet. And then as far as social media, obviously YouTube, Spotify, we've seen a lot of growth on Spotify recently, which is awesome. I know it's fun to see that people are actually getting involved and actually, you know, noticing that we're out there just because we're putting out the stuff that we enjoy and like. And it's nice to see that there's a lot of people that are, you know, coming along for the ride and joining us in you know, kind of whatever we're doing. So yeah, YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, all the basic stuff, Apple Music, all the music, all the things, all the apps. And as far as what we have going on for the future, I mean, as of right now, it's just completing the newer songs that we're working on. Um, kind of, I know that Chill, you mentioned is like, okay, well, if the shift is going to go more towards the tidal wave aspect of it, is I would like to think so, just because I feel like that's a more I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to say it without like bashing our old music, but it's more of a refined sound, I think.
Yeah.
It'll just be a little bit heavier.
Yeah, a little bit more. This was kind of this. I will say the tidal wave was kind of kind of a experiment.
Yeah.
To see kind of, you know, it's always nice to be able to flex your muscles, as you know, as somebody would say, in regards to writing and being able to have the skills and the know-how. It's like, okay, well, you know what, yeah, we play metal, but look what else we can do. But yeah, if anybody, you know, if everyone has the social media to sort of wrap it up, yeah, big ones all the big ones: Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Apple Music, wherever music fine retailers are around, you'll find us there.
I love it. Thank you again so much, you guys, and thank you for sharing your social media and where people can find you and your testimonials and everything. It was just so good. And right now, we're going to go ahead and kick it into the gospel. But before I do that, I just want to plug in our social media so that way we can end it with the gospel. We are Heavy Worship Nation on all streaming platforms. We have Facebook, Instagram, literally any kind of social media you can imagine. We have we're on YouTube as well, so this interview will be posted on YouTube so you can see everybody's beautiful faces and just expressions. And we do have group chats. We're very big about communities, so we have group chats on Instagram. We have group chats on Facebook for musicians, wanting to get together or even just to network. We're trying to, just get people to come together, or even just the fans of the musicians, trying to have people to connect, to go to shows together, because I know it's been a thing, at least where we live, where, a lot of people tell us, oh, I actually came to the show by myself. And it's like, I mean, that's great and all, but we would love to see more of a community where people can be like, hey, I know you from listening to Heavy Worship Nation from the group chat. Like, we're gonna go and fellowship together at this show. And
Yeah.
it's just really cool how God's doing what he's doing. So again, we are on all social media, all streaming platforms, Spotify, everything at Heavy Worship Nation. And thank you guys again. And I'm going to go ahead and kick it off to chill with the gospel.
So at the end of every episode, we share the gospel because we understand that there are people out there that enjoy the genre of music, not necessarily knowing that it's faith-based or understanding who Jesus is or what he's about. So I think the theme for tonight was just understanding that there's nothing that you can do to earn salvation. Okay, it doesn't matter how often you go to church. It doesn't matter whether you're Catholic. It doesn't matter how hard you pray. None of that matters. It's by the grace of God through faith in Jesus Christ alone that you're saved, and that is the gospel. So you don't have to have your act together. You don't have to think to yourself, well, if I could just wrap my head around all the whys, right? Like, why did this happen to me? And then I'll go to church, or, I'll get sober first and then I'll go to church. Like, that's not it. You come to Jesus where you are, period. Just where you are, how you are, that's where you come to Christ. Okay. So it's not us. There's nothing that we can do. It's all about what he did for us. Okay. Jesus is God, and he died on that cross to make us in right standing with God. So that way we can have forgiveness. And so that way we can spend eternity in heaven and not fear him, but instead have that loving relationship where he's with us. I mean, the word of the Lord says that he will never forsake us. He will never leave us. And there's absolutely nothing that we can do to separate us from the love of God. Right? Once you accept that Jesus died for your sins. So if this is new for you and you've never heard this before, you're like, what? God loves me. He actually wants to forgive me. I'm not condemned to hell. There's hope that I can get out of that. Then I want you right now to just bow your head with us. You do not have to pray this prayer to get saved. What all this prayer allows you to do is accept Jesus into your heart. That's it. So, Father, we just thank you for this time. We thank you for this moment. We thank you for the music. We thank you for this podcast. We thank you for your word. I pray, Father, that you just help make us new. Continue to do the good work that you've begun in us and fill us with your Holy Spirit. Love us and cleanse us right where we are, and help us to be new creations and to do this thing your way. Help us where we fall short. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was so.
Yeah. And for those of you who prayed that prayer, you're like, great, now what? Congratulations. You are now a part of the kingdom of God. You're grafted in now. You are adopted. You are no longer an orphan. Welcome. You have brothers and sisters in Christ now. So, like Celeste was saying, we're big into community. I know when I first got saved, I was the first in my family. I didn't have any friends. My family were not believers. There was no Bible. There was no church. And I felt really alone and isolated. And that was a big reason why we started doing this, because I do not want y'all to feel the same way. So by all means, find us. You can find me. You can find Celeste. You can find Heavy Worship Nation. Send us a message and we'll make sure that you get plugged in. We will graft you in and make
Yep.
sure that you feel loved and belonged. The memes are dank, guys. I promise.
Yes. Definitely so. And we want to get you plugged in somewhere as well. If you're out there trying to find a church near you, we really truly believe the power of community and for you to be planted somewhere so that way you can have, just get some fellowship wise counsel, everything. So we are in the process of doing that, working on the website right now. It's still in the works, so just be ready for it. It is that's a lot going on. But again, thank you guys so much for coming on the podcast. We appreciate you. We appreciate your words of encouragement, your just humbleness, your how do you say that? Authenticity? Yes. Authenticity. Yes. I just appreciate you guys so much. And we know that this is gonna speak to somebody. We don't know. And honestly, it's just the fact of the matter that the seed was planted is good enough for me. So thank you guys again and enjoy the rest of your night. To all you out there, I hope it speaks to you like it has spoken to us. And until we meet again, much love. Bye, you guys.
Thank you.
See y'all.
Bye.